This week, Thomas Friedman wrote a piece in the New York Times saying this: "If I could get a memo onto President Biden's desk about the new Israeli government, I know exactly how I would start. Dear Mr. President, I don't know if you're interested in Jewish history, but Jewish history is certainly interested in you today. Israel is on the verge of a historic transformation, from a full-fledged democracy to something less, and from a stabilizing force in the region to a destabilizing one. You may be the only one able to stop Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his extremist coalition from turning Israel into an illiberal bastion of zealotry." The article goes on to describe how Bibi's far-right coalition is moving to make sure that Israel's executive branch essentially takes over the judiciary. That endangers Israel's protections for Jewish expression, personal expression, and its security in its own neighborhood, let alone global security implications. If Friedman thought the best way for Biden to communicate with Bibi was a letter, I thought if it's good enough for Biden, it's good enough for me. So I decided for my sermon tonight, I would write a letter to the state of Israel herself, on behalf of myself, the 100+ people who just returned from the family mission a few weeks ago, and, well, anyone else who wants to hop in. To our beloved land of Israel, we wanted to write you now when our impressions are still fresh. Every day when we are apart, we listen to the news and pray that you are safe and sound. We know you are used to being in a dangerous neighborhood, but that doesn't mean that we are. With every siren that wails and every missile that is intercepted, we hold our breath. It is difficult to be so far away when you're hurting. For those of us who were lucky enough during Hanukkah to be with you, with our feet on your ground, breathing your sacred air, it was a dream. Often we had to remind each other that it was indeed real. Whether we had never been or it was our 10th visit, our hearts always beat a little faster when they announce on the plane, Bruchim Habaim LaYisrael, welcome to Israel. We landed delirious with jet lag and smelling of the airplane, and yet ecstatic. Whether we knew Hebrew or not, we were joyous hearing our ancient language being spoken to yell at a bad driver or order a coffee. As many have said, Hebrew being spoken sounds like beautiful, familiar music in the ears of the Jewish people. Your warm sun felt good on our skin, and as we boarded our bus, we repeated over and over how lucky we are to be in this space. Streets are streets and buildings are buildings, and yet they are not. In Israel, ordinary space feels entirely extraordinary. The Mediterranean was more than the sea. The desert was more than sand. We were already more than disparate families finding themselves thrown together for an adventure. We were seekers and meaning makers that had the opportunity to experience your beauty, your challenges, your power, and your frailty together as a group that would grow into something so much more. We would become friends, parents to each other's kids, grandparents to each other's grandchildren. It was like a rolling kibbutz everywhere we went. And, my dearest Israel, you did not disappoint. We fell in love with your rocks and your dust, your salt and your water. We for sure fell in love with your food. And did we eat, and then we ate some more. Where to begin? Fresh vegetables and fruit? Check. Nuts, seeds, salads, meat, poultry, dessert, coffee, wine? Check. 3 times a day, like guaranteed. We knew you were the land flowing with milk and honey, but we didn't realize you were also the land flowing with soft cheeses and like 60 different kinds of halava. We were never hungry, that's for sure, but since when did eating have anything to do with being hungry? The Jewish state treats its guests like every Jewish mother in history, with tons of food and also tons of affection. We never felt empty stomachs or empty souls. Yes, we ate donuts for Hanukkah, but we also celebrated that a great miracle happened here in the place we were blessed to be. We could be looking at art or surfing down a sand dune, and we felt overcome with pride that all of it was happening in the place Jews fought and died for, and still do. Everything we did as Jews. As Jews who go to synagogue every Shabbat and Jews who pray silently by themselves in their kitchens. Every person had a special moment at different moments, some in religious places, others in natural settings. Some shared that the moment had happened, and others kept the experience to themselves. The point is that you let us experience you in a way that matched our own spirits like a puzzle piece. We didn't have to force anything. There wasn't a time when we felt bad that we should have felt something and didn't. You didn't dictate our connection with you. You let us find it ourselves or let it find us. You let us question what we knew and believe about Judaism and how we live as Jews, and it was all good. Like how at the end of creation, God looked around and saw that everything that God had made was tov me'od, very good. You, Israel, our homeland, created something new in each of us. A love for the land, the people, the stories, the legends, and each of us looked around with open eyes and said, it is tov me'od, it is very good. But lest we only focus on the wondrous and the good, we feel, dear Israel, that we must acknowledge the danger that you are in. Not just the physical danger posed by outside threats, but the dangers that are arising internally. Extremism is creeping into national politics and discourse. Somehow the definition of who is a Jew inside your borders has become more narrowly defined than Hitler himself defined it. Remember when God told the Jewish people that to have a king would not be the right choice? When the people begged and begged for a king, and God said, if you have a king, he will become like Pharaoh, amassing gold and horses and women. Just look at the Torah portions right now. Pharaoh enslaved our people. Pharaoh saw himself as a god. But we know there is only one God, and that God made a covenant with our ancestors, promising them a return to the land of our ancestors, a return to you. And here we are, almost 75 years since your birth, and you are in existential danger. The threats are coming from within your borders. It is pitting Israelis against each other, the diaspora against Sabras, the Arabs against the Jews who are learning to live together side by side. We are supposed to be Or LaGoyim, a light unto the nations. That is a serious mandate. We are supposed to be the living incarnation of our values, honesty, integrity, loving peace, and pursuing peace, creating a nation where all can feel safe on sacred ground. We ask that your inhabitants remember that the hope of everyone sitting peacefully under their vine and their fig tree and not being made afraid would and should always apply equally, not just to those who have political power or fit certain definitions. Before I say goodbye to you, Israel, let me thank you for a few more things. Thank you for showing us your many personalities by raining down on Masada and the Dead Sea and flooding the desert with your life-giving water. Will you hit the space bar, please, Cantor? This is a picture that we took as we were on the bus leaving Masada, and Rabbi Loss is here, and Cantor Smolash was here. It poured and thundered and lightning on the entire time on Masada. We went through the Dead Sea and floated in the pouring rain, and then, as only Israel can do, a rainbow. We never thought that we would hear such lightning and thunder on Masada, but we did. And then the rainbow appeared over the sand and the water. Only you could have produced such a phenomenon. Thank you for the reliable insanity that is the market in Jerusalem on Friday afternoon. We ate our way from one end to the other, tasting all of the delicious produce and breads and sweet and spices that grow in your soil. It was worth pushing through thousands of people to get there who are ready to welcome Shabbat. Thank you for celebrating with us as our children had their B'nai Mitzvah. We swear we heard the walls of the old city singing with them as they chanted their Torah portions. The sunshine extra bright wherever we went. Thank you, Israel, for making us feel like we were one family returning to a place that was somehow foreign and yet entirely familiar. Thank you for letting us feel your magic and your warmth. You never disappoint, only amaze. From our hearts, souls, stomachs, minds, feet, eyes, ears, and mouths, we thank you. Those of us who were on the trip, those of us who have been before, or those who hope to go in the future are grateful no matter where we are in the world, because we know that you are waiting for us to return. So for now, we will just say, Lehitraot, see you soon. With love, your Temple Israel kids. Shabbat Shalom.